Thank you for tuning in to Choices Now TV. My name is Ann Christie. I am your host today, and it is a pleasure just to come to you once again. Today, I'm going to be talking about boundaries. Boundaries. Now, this is something that indicates a border or limit. So, do you know what your boundaries are? Do you know how to establish boundaries and follow through with them? So I'm just going to talk very briefly about boundaries and how we can establish those boundaries, follow through with them, and be successful. As we are approaching the holiday season, it's very difficult sometimes for us to set those limits and then stick to them. The pressures of everything around us will sometimes cause us to not really forget our limits, but to overlook our limits, to overlook our boundaries, and just go all out with the things that we want, the things that we desire. Now, it's during this time of year that many people will become extremely depressed. Extremely depressed. There are reports from all over the world where people are committing suicide, where horrific incidents are happening because of this type of year, being depressed, being overwhelmed by just life in general. And that comes from their inability to set limits, just simply to set limits. Our culture has forced, this extreme way of life on us. Through media, through radio, through the mail. There's all types of advertisements that come about. And we look at these advertisements and then we begin to internalize. I could sure use that, or I would love to have that item. What I'd like to do today is just give you a few tips, that'll help you with setting boundaries. One is to start your process from day one. Day one meaning if you have a child, start at the very beginning. Set those boundaries. I know when we have baby showers, there are registries that we sign up for, and we put down everything that we think we want. Put down those things that you're going to actually use. A lot of times we collect all these things and we never use them. They end up being stored in a closet or up in an attic somewhere, and the child never gets any use out of these items. So start from the very beginning with setting realistic expectations of your guests that will be purchasing items for you for your baby shower. Also, you'll find that as the child gets older and you begin to shower them with many, many gifts, they'll begin to expect these gifts. But when they're very small, they're more interested, and you can look back at your own videos, they're more interested or concerned with the wrapper and the box in which these items are in versus the item itself. So you want to be careful with, just buy those things that the child will use, the child would like, and start from there. Just very small steps, because we can groom our children to become boundarless, or to have no boundaries. We can train them up like that, whereas there is no boundaries set. So if you start early, then these will become habits for them, and as they get older, they'll be able to teach their children, and their children will be able to teach their children. It's a simple process, and I believe all of us can start now to set boundaries that can help our children be productive, help us as adults be productive. We may have made a lot of mistakes in the past. We didn't set boundaries. We're over our head in debt. We're just, many people have left their homes because they were crowded. There was nowhere to go. The debt was too high. So instead of dealing with it, they walked away from the debt. Now the debt is still there, and they'll wait it out for the 7 years or 15 years or however long. But if we learn to set boundaries early, when we're faced with a crisis, it won't be so overwhelming. It won't be so devastating. Okay, so this is the second step is to use the word no. Simply N-O. This is not a bad word. Many people think that no is a bad word. It is not a bad word. It simply means that you cannot have the things that you may want. Okay? Now, concerning a child, you want to say to that child, no, with authority. Not, no, honey, you can't have it right now, but no, and leave it. Because children are very, very unique individuals. They understand tones. They understand pitches. And depending on how you pitch your voice, they'll know whether to lean in and press you for that item or stand back and say, okay, mom or dad means business, so I'm not going to, ask them about that again. So being able to say no, with authority and moving forward. Now, you set the boundaries if you want to engage the person, be it child or adult, that's going to be totally up to you. Totally up to you. If you want to continue the conversation and just kind of trying to appease the individual because they don't feel too good about your no answer, that's going to be up to you. But 9 times out of 10, when you engage the individual in the conversation, you're going to give in to their demands. You're going to give in to their requests. So it would behoove you to say no and leave it as no and move on. 3 is to set limits on gifts and stick to it. When you set a limit, if it's 1 cent over, don't purchase it. That means it is not within your budget. Simply put, it is not within your budget. I gotta get it. Condition yourself now. If you've developed bad habits over the years, see a limit, see your item. If it's not within your reach, leave it. That means that's something that you can't have at this time. Let's talk about the big ticket items. I recommend that you do the math. Do the math. Now, if you are overwhelmed in bills now, if you're struggling now, and there's a big ticket item that you want, it's best that you see that item and leave it. You can look at it and say, I'm going to put that on my wish list. This is something that I wish for. This is something I hope for. Put it on your list and then work towards that. If you don't have the money, don't purchase it. But I have credit cards. Will you pay your credit card bill? Or will you let that 29% interest continue to take your money? Listen, we're a society that is, we're moved by sales, we're moved by, great offers and opportunities, credit card deals, but we are in so much debt, we can't keep up. Our government is in debt, likewise we're in debt. I tell you, I wish it was the year of Jubilee, which means, when all debt is erased from the government and from people alike. But let's face reality. This is not happening. It is not happening. So I'm encouraging you, if there's a big ticket item that you would like to purchase, save for it. Put some money aside, a little bit at a time, until you reach that particular amount that, the particular amount of that item. Now, let me go back just a little bit, because when you see the big ticket items and the price, the adrenaline is flowing, you're feeling good about it. Oh man, I gotta have this. Woo, I can feel it, this surround sound system. It is awesome. I have to have it. It's $2,500. Hold on. Step out of the booth. Take a deep breath. And think about, after the smoke clears and the sound you become used to, that bill will be there. If you have cash to pay it out, by all means, indulge yourself. Indulge yourself. I'm not saying don't buy. I'm just saying set your limits. You know what your limits are. If you have the finances where you can spend like you want to spend and do what you want to do, by all means, go ahead. I encourage you to. No one knows your struggles. So if you're at a place down in your life where you can spend without any reserve, be happy, feel free, have joy, have no guilt about spending. But if you're in a place where your finances are not intact, where you cannot pay your bills from month to month, leave the big ticket item where it is. Okay? Leave the big ticket item to where it is. And last, and like I said, this is just a little, it's a brief, just a few tips on how to set boundaries and what to do and what not to do. So for the fifth one, don't be moved by your advertisements, by the sales, the buy one, get one free, the 50% off sales, and so on. You know, only spend what you have. The bottom line is only spend what you have. If you don't have it, don't go and borrow it. Don't create a debt just to feel good about purchasing an item. Because at the end of the day, you may feel good at that particular moment, but at the end of the day, it's going to register in your mind that you have to repay that loan at an extra cost as well. You're going to pay for borrowing that money. Okay? And let me give you this tidbit. Several times a year, there's, stores drastically reduce their seasonal clothing. Find out when they're going to have those sales where they're getting ready to go from one season to the next. Wait until that time comes and shop and save. Be a smart consumer. Be a smart shopper. Set your boundaries. Know where you stand. Know what you can handle. If you're one that likes expensive clothing, listen, all of your top shops, they do have times of year. There are times of years that they will reduce their clothing. You don't have to succumb to something less than what you're used to or what you're accustomed to, but you can shop smarter. You can shop smarter. If you like different store brands, a particular brand, and I don't want to give a particular brand, but listen, shop around. Be a conservative shopper. See what's out there, and then wait until the season, it's time for the season to change, and then go in and load up on your items. Purchase your shirts, your blouses, your jackets, your shoes, your pants, whatever it may be. Find out those times. Now, remember, you are in control of your boundaries, and it's going to be totally up to you to set those boundaries and stick to it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a process. It is a process, and it's a habit is what it is. So habits are good. There are good habits and there are bad habits, but I like to say to you, setting boundaries is a good habit. And once again, you are tuned in to Choices Now TV. I am Ann Christie. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to talking with you again real soon. Have a good day.